You mentioned Besser too. That money could have gone to Besser.
Yeah.
Like, guys, what are we doing here?
Was that the asking price too? A second?
I don't even know if ever came out what the question was. Did they want? Because here's what's annoying is even if Vancouver didn't retain on the deal, which it never sounded like they wanted to do. By the way, shout out the fact that Brock Besser is still a Canuck after the deadline. Instead of getting that cap hit for Granlund, you could have done Besser and the young prospect like that. I shouldn't say prospect. That's God. No, he's been in the league for years now. I get he's got injury problems and that, but you tell me you can't figure that out? If he's playing so well since they moved him back with Elias Pettersson, you telling me he can't do that with Malkin and Crosby? That's come on, guys. Just I don't know what they're doing anymore, man. I don't know what they're doing. Um, Kind of like the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, it's funny. We always talk about, oh, it's the GM, but then it's like some of these moves they're so reminiscent of Jim Benning.
And do you know who the one constant in all this has been? The Linden years.
Yeah.
Then stuff with Benning and now the J.R. Alvin. You know who's the one constant in all of this, Daniel?
Is it Francesco Aquilini?
Francesco Aquilini.
Yes.
Like it's the worst kept secret in the league. This is him. However, okay, listen. Ahem. The Vancouver Canucks. The deadline has passed, Daniel. Connor Garland is a Vancouver Canuck still. Brock Besser is a Vancouver Canuck still. JT Miller is not a Pittsburgh Penguin. Patrick Allvin said after the deadline they did not receive an offer for him, which, if you don't know how to speak GM, doesn't mean anything because there were definitely discussions, and we know that from all the reports out there. It did happen. They were discussions with him in Pittsburgh. We know there were. Didn't happen though. Apparently, in a possible JT Miller trade, there were first round picks on the table from Pittsburgh. Really, it was two of them. That's what the word is. If it's true, oh my god. Because apparently, what the Canucks want is a young centerman back instead of the picks. Now, all of this points towards, when we look at the Philip Pronik deal, where they give up draft capital, including the first round pick from the Brock Besser deal, the Bo Horvat deal, to acquire a young defenseman who has had a good year and a half now, really popping off. But nothing here points towards a rebuild, rather a retool, which has been what the Canucks have been trying to do for a decade now. And that points towards one thing, and that is there is clearly ownership meddling here. Because
Mhm.
insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result here. And nothing is changing in Vancouver.
Yeah, it's like when I looked at the Roenick, I was so confused of what they were trying to do that I thought they were going to be dumping salary and just try to figure it out in the off season, and then that deal really comes out of nowhere. I think it was a good indication of what Detroit kind of felt their chances were this year. But I think for the Canucks, it was like it's this feeling I felt how it was like, let's just try this one more time. We're not as bad as we say we are, or as we're showing. Let's add. And bad. That was bad. I remember this breaks me back to when they traded Ryan Kessler to the Ducks. And then I thought, okay, yeah, that kind of shows they're getting away from the Sedin era. It's time to rebuild. And then they trade Jared McCann, that pick they got in the Ryan Kessler trade, for Eric Gabranson. And
Man,
I don't understand.
that's an all timer that doesn't get talked about enough anymore. That was all time.
Yeah.
Like, the trade is they give up the conditional pick in this year's draft. The second round pick is in this draft. This draft? This draft, well, it's not like they're in a position to trade next year. You don't want to do that. But in this draft, why would you? The Islanders aren't for sure making it either, so that pick can go down in quality. Or sorry, I should go up in quality, lower in the draft order. Well, it's just nothing has changed there. Nothing is going on. It's like, we like how they've responded to the new coach. Guys, every team responds well to a new coach for so long. But if you're not changing the general way you're building the team, like at its core, we have looked at the Canucks for again a decade, and it's been roster construction. And again, they haven't moved anyone. They brought in guys. I'm sure everyone has seen this going around on Twitter. They're over the cap next year. Their committed cap
So
hit is over the hit that is over the ceiling next year. Like, I'm pretty sure. I want to double check this. I'm pretty sure. Who did they have on LTIR? Played in Carolina, went there, hasn't played for a couple years now. Tough
Michael
guy,
Furlan.
Michael Furlan. Yeah, I'm wondering even if his LTIR cap hit expires this year. I'm just gonna quickly try and find it. Michael Furlan, his contract is up at the end of this year, so they don't have that LTI relief anymore unless we just never know what's going to happen with Tanner Pearson and he's going to be the new guy there because God, what's happening with him? Um, there's a lot going on there, Daniel. There's a lot going on.
You mentioned Bor Horvat. That's the biggest subtraction, and then Luke Shen gets traded, and then it's fun. It's like, okay, yeah, great. You're doing what you need to do to think about the future, and then try to correct the mistakes you had before, and then they just couldn't help themselves and trade assets for Philip Roenick.
It's just stop what you're doing, guys. Stop what you're doing.